Yeah. First and foremost, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises due to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Rakah, HaKadosh, double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well over the flock of Israel. Shalom and salutations to you, Akim out here that's pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom to all the Lord's elect, Akim, Akrab, scattered Israelites, and Israelite foreigners. I brought this out. This video is edifying. All right, and just coming back with another one through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shemi Shah to illustrate, the topic of military sieges and the coming, downfall of this and collapse of this society, Babylon, but the stages of it leading up to that judgment day, that no world order, third world war destruction, which we all understand through prophecy. Leading up to that time, Yahushua said, "I'll come to send a fire, but what will I if it already be kindled?" And the kindling of a fire or a large fire is the small brush fires that start the bigger fires. So Yahushua basically saying this place is already going to be ignited with so many things, right? Right. The scriptures in Jeremiah 30:7, of course, tell you the time of Jacob's trouble. Daniel 12:1 tell you time like none other before, no other time before it. And so, a time of devastation, the perplexity of, the men shall be in travail as women with child. So many forms of fashion to show you that there's going to be an all-out chaotic state coming to this place, Babylon, including the implementation of MOTB. But various things are going to bring about that, right? Pressure from above, pressure from below. That's the term that the elites use to really push people through a Hegelian dialectic. You can look that up. Force people into accepting less rights, accepting more surveillance, accepting more government control, and giving up freedoms. One of them is forced immigration. Now, immigration might just look like, as you've been taught on the surface level, it's just people who are looking from worse or off countries, third world states, looking for more or better ways of life. That's one way to phrase it. The other way of phrasing this situation or something of this magnitude that's happening all over Europe and all over, so-called, let's say, westernized countries like America, this is just a military invasion in its earliest forms, right? You have undocumented people jumping over the border, crossing over by any means in the masses, and they're all of the age of war, men of war. They're all equipped. Young people, you don't know what kind of training they got, These young men, soldier ready. You never see women and children. There's always men crossing these borders and coming into these cities. And then you have new evidences of later on what they do. They basically are changing the dynamics of that country, through, I don't know, you could say through democracy, but really it's a tactic, it's a skill, and it weakens the country. In preparation for what, you might ask? In preparation for a complete control or Hegelian dialectic style New World Order control, right? How do you get the people, disrupt the community or the flow of the people, and to make them do what you want to do? Create a situation, all right? Right now, the situation is immigration. A lot of people get rallied up over that because these people who come in to a country don't necessarily know what the hell's going on. They don't care, right? Now, I'm going to show you through, that's just one clip. I'm actually bring out one more clip, two more clips. Check this out.
Tía macho, qué fuerte. Tía macho, qué fuerte, Dios. Qué fuerte en la puerta de la casa, macho. Qué miedo.
Salen corriendo civilización a roquetas, macho, pero tranquilo, tío. Todos con su neopreno. Es una pena.
Increíble, macho, increíble. Sí, sí, hala. Más moro aquí. Más moro.
So this is not just random events. This is coordinated, it's large scale and it's happening all over. And with the average eyes, you'd be left to say like, no, this is just people seeking asylum. You've been trained to say that. Where'd you even understand that from? Asylum, right? But what you're gonna find out is this is gonna not stop. It's gonna be nonstop. This is all for the usher in the next phase of what the elites is gonna bring out of this chaos, so they could bring about their new world order. Here's another. Not now. Try to find one woman out of all of these migrants, and these is areas like Portugal and Spain mainly right now. But try to find one woman.
شحال من واحد 1500 قال لي ايش من 1500 عرفتي شحال من البشر هنايا يضرب السيني قاليها باقي البشر اللي هنا وعدي والله إلا أكثر من 150 شي شحال دابا 150 1050 ألو شو هما كيفكروا واش يهودوا لا كثير أخي عندهم يطبقوا
All right, so now you should know what normal asylum seeking gonna look like. It's gonna be women, it's gonna be kids, right? They used to show you them caravans coming from Mexico or Ecuador and whatnot. It's women and kids traveling too, man. Now this is just all men, and they happen to be. You don't see old men. You don't see elderly men. You don't see no canes. You see able-bodied men. All right, now if it wasn't for the scriptures, we'd be ignorant enough to believe, no, this is just asylum seeking people, man. Nah, man, let them get their rocks off. But you got to be able to let's transcend your emotions and come to realize that this is the beginning stages of war. That's what war looks like. There's the words, did the word siege ring a bell? Did the words encampments ring a bell? What's another one? Mustering the host to the battle. Look at this, hundreds of thousands of them, man. What other words come to mind? It's a few words, but these words, have been all because we are people robbed and spoiled. This whole idea and this concept of war and what it actually meant and what it meant, what a nation, what invasion would actually look like, right? Of an army coming and, the setup with the watchmen and the towers. That's all been taken from us. We are people robbed and spoiled. So we don't have that heightened awareness that when the trumpet was blown, what that symbolized in Israel, trumpets, even the trumpets, man. You go outside and go in the middle of Harlem, go in the middle of Chicago and blow a trumpet and see how many jakes relate to that. They don't. Why? And that's because what the Lord did was he took us and he judged us by way of putting us into captivity on our enemies. So let's go ahead now and go into some scriptures, man, that's going to basically prove to you that, these are the signs of imminent war. These are the signs of an invasion. These are not the signs of asylum seeking, refuge. It's not what that looks like. Deuteronomy 3:19 says, but your wives. Let me start up at 18. It says, and I commanded you at that time, saying that the Lord power, your power, the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, your power, have given you this land to possess it. This is when he gave us the land, right? The land of Canaan. It says, ye shall pass over armed before your brethren, the children of Israel, all that meet for the war, right? So we're all passing over, crossing over Jordan all at once, armed. It says, but your wives and your little ones and your cattle, for I know that ye have much cattle, shall abide in your cities which I have given you. So the wives, the cattle, the children, they stayed back. So only the men passed over. And you might say, well, they passed over with arms. These men don't got arms. Well, you don't know what they got in them bags. That's number one, because they carrying something. Two, you don't know how much military training they had. Three is, what can they might be stocked for? It might be stocked already over there for them when they reach that place. You know, when you're thinking on them lines, that's what you should be thinking along them lines. Like, there isn't, when some say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes. The peace and safety would be, no, these are asylum seekers. They have an opportunity, just like you had an opportunity. We're going to give them an opportunity. They just want to make a better life and living. Yeah, it would all be all candies and roses and peace if it was all about people trying to get an opportunity. Not everybody coming over here got that same mentality, man. Right? Very few. Especially if the average person thinks that they all coming over here for the same reason. Well, they already indoctrinated you to believe that they all asylum seekers. So why not send a damn whole militia over? So again, the men would leave behind, right, their wives, their children, their cattle, because they wasn't coming over there for asylum seeking. It says, until the Lord have given rest unto your brethren as well. It says, as well as unto you, and unto they also possess the land which the Lord power shall have given them beyond Jordan. And then shall you return every man unto his possessions, which I have given you, right? Because then he give half the land of Manasseh and Gad, their land first, right? On one side of Jordan. And then it was for them to go over and help Israel take the rest of the towns down on the other side of Jordan before they went back and enjoyed their land, right? Yeah, because the land was divided from the east of the Jordan for certain Israelites, right? That's going back into the geography of the land of Israel. If you look at the River Jordan, you're going to see some of Israelites dwelt on one side, east side, and some most dwelt on the west side. So, all right, so moving forward, we're talking about what an attack looked like. Right? They don't got to look like they coming over here with their guns drawn out. We've been watching too many movies. If you've seen movies like, you know, Saving Private Ryan, yeah, as soon as they hit the beaches of Normandy, they stocked up with the weapons drawn out, running, bombs going off. That's your typical war. Well, this will be like a setup. This will be getting the troops together. Judges 6:33 says, then all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the children of the east were gathered together and went over and pitched in the valley of Jezreel. So here it is. They about to go to war with Israel, right? Gideon asked for a sign. They about to go to war with Israel. And it says, formed an alliance against Israel and crossed the Jordan, camping in the valley of Jezreel. So there's an encampment now. There's an alliance of all our enemies coming over toward us and then forming an encampment. And that's what these invasions are. That's what an invasion looked like. It didn't necessarily happen. They charge all the way there. Now they camp closer to you. And then they regroup. And then they maybe move to a different encampment closer, regroup. And then finally, when they come together close enough, that's where the battle took place. And that's what's going on. That's why you got armies and armies of, foreigners crossing over into America, crossing over to these lands. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to censor videos like this because they're going to say that this is about scaring people. This is misinformation. This is fear-mongering. And this isn't acceptable. You got to accept everybody. We're a land of, so-and-so, such and such, freedom, blah, 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 applaud. You know how the rest goes. And then the people heart get all choked up. Yeah, it is a land of. And next thing you know, all of them thousands of men who came over here finally get armed and start to move on these cities. Hey, the plan is malicious, man. So as you see here in 1 Samuel 25:12, it says, so David's young men turned their way and went again and came and told him all those sayings. And David said unto his men, gird ye on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword. And David also girded on his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff. And you could say, well, it's not always a lot of people crossing over. Why isn't there more? If it was a whole army, that's just a few hundred men. David moved around with a few hundred men. David only used a few hundred men. It says, and 200 remained behind to guard their equipment. Yup, right? You move men here, you move men there. That's war. That's setting up the stages of war. Every part of the war wasn't just charged. They had to actually get them men to leave their families and come migrate here, then migrate here and camp here. Some would stay back to guard this. And it's logistics. It's all orderly done. Way beyond your pay grade. And this is what we used to know, but we lost this heritage when we fell into captivity of understanding how war looks. Isaiah 5:25, it says, therefore is the anger of the Lord kindled against his people. And that's something also that we used to watch out for. The anger of the Lord kindled against us. I would ask at the average Jake, is the anger of the Lord kindled against our people right now? They couldn't answer without definitively. But that's a quick series. That's a quick answer for somebody who's studied, who's read, who's learned, who's taught. Starting with our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, we'd all answer, yeah, hell yeah, the anger of the Lord is kindled against our people. And it's going to turn up. We're going to see his great wrath in these few days come in this time we're in, right? In this lifetime, as we see Esau Edom preparing for his new world order. Right? He's going to bring down, and you start using his sword on these people. But that's the anger of the Lord kindled, because he sent Esau Edom to be trouble for us. It says, and he hath stretched forth his hand against them, and hath smitten them. And the hills did tremble, and their carcasses were torn in the midst of the streets. For all this anger, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is still stretched out still. So as you can see, when the Most High's anger gets kindled, corpses become a thing. People littering the streets like garbage, it says in the NLT, becomes a thing. Us being crushed by different nations becomes a thing. It says, and he will lift up an ensign to the nations from far, and will hiss unto them from the end of the earth. And behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. Who's this they? NLT said he will send a signal to distant nations far away and whistle to those at the ends of the earth. They will come racing toward Jerusalem. Verse 27 NLT, they will not get tired or stumble. They will not stop for rest or sleep. Not a belt will be loose, not a sandal strap broken. Their arrows will be sharp and their bows ready for battle. Sparks will fly from their horses' hoofs, and wheels of their chariots will spin like a whirlwind. They will roar like lions, like the strongest of lions, growling with the pounce on their victims. They will pounce on the victims and carry them off, and no one will be there to rescue them. And just understand and taking heed to the scriptures, you should be wary. Scriptures like this, and understanding that this was a normal thing for the Most High to use nations to bring us down. When his patience ran thin on us and he turned his back on us, nations would come and defeat us. It would always be the nations, right? Sometimes he sent animals or beasts, but when nations came in, man, that was the epitome of the anger of the Lord being kindled. Us going into slavery and seeing our women being ravished and seeing our children being taken into captivity and enslaved, and the men being slaughtered. That's the apex of the Most High's anger and wrath and judgment. And so at any time you see the masses of people entering into your town or your country or where you dwell at, that should invoke that reminder. It should be a recall moment of fear, overwhelming fear of what the Lord has already done to us in previous times, man. There's no case you can make to somebody who studies the scriptures that all of these influx of people coming from a whole nother land is this good thing that we should desire to see. Nah, the Lord used men like that and infiltrations like that to destroy us completely. It says they will roar over their victims on that day of destruction like the roaring of the sea. If someone looks across the land, only darkness and distress will be seen. Even the light will be darkened by the clouds. So we all understand that this place, Babylon, America, is set to be destroyed anyway. And so our main idea is that not that we can preserve and save this place by voting in the right people so that the invasion will stop and the border can be closed and we'll have peace and safety, because that would be a peace and safety conversation. And then looking forward toward the day of the Lord, you're hastening the day of destruction. Essentially, we want to see this place get wiped out and destroyed. And it's not going to be some little way that the elites can bring in, still ushering a new world order. We desire to see the day where Yahushua comes and shuts down all the nations and put them all into captivity after World War III is commenced. Right? We desire to see a post-apocalyptic kingdom, a post-American kingdom. But this place is going to be wiped out with flames. But you're going to have these situations where, there's going to be an affliction. There's going to be a tormenting. Your soul going to be in situations being tormented, but the Most High is going to have to sustain his elect. And everybody outside of that circle in that encampment of angels protecting, of angelic divine protection, is going to be, like a sheep that wanders off in the wilderness. Going to be struck down. Joshua 14:7 says, 40 years was I when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to espy out the land, and I brought him word again as it was in mine heart. This is Caleb. Caleb, all right, along with Joshua. Caleb, it says here, Joshua, it says, in Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, said unto him, right? So this is Caleb and Joshua. And Joshua and Caleb went in as spies, right, to espy out the land. So does this not look like a situation where even if, let's say, they just come into what they say, seeking asylum, would they not now be able to report back the inner workings of whatever's going on in that country? How do you know people ain't just spies? I mean, no. How do you know spy? Because you're not taught to think war. You're not taught to think militarily. You're not taught to think that you have normalcy bias, and you're protected by this illusion or this delusion that this place, America, can never be touched, right? And the scriptures even point that out by calling it, "O virgin daughter of Babylon," right? You shall no more be a virgin, basically. You'll be ran through. This place, America, hasn't seen invasion and war, right? It's always had internal fightings and whatnot. Or we're going to come to a time when that time's going to be done away with. We're going to have invasions on this land. And right now it's being ushered in in the name of freedom, or in the name of asylum seeking. This new invasion is being ushered in. So you already have spies that have reached over here. Just like in Europe, the main thing going on in Europe is the migration policies. Is Poland going to open its borders? Is Germany going to continue to open its borders? Is France still opening its borders? Right? So you had spies, Caleb and Joshua, right? The book of Joshua. He was a spy. He was sent by Moses to spy out that land along with 12 others, I believe. It says, nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I wholly followed the Lord my power. So you got spies. This is all in the midst of warfare and sieges and encampments and mustering of hundreds of men at a time. It says in Joshua, this is Joshua 2:1, and Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, go view the land of even Jericho. And they went and came into an harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there. Even this is a conquest. This is a conquest. When you take down a city before you take it out, you send spies to that city to spy out the land. Can we take it? How many days would it take? Where are their strongholds? A stronghold, right? Where is it? A fortified city? How easily can it be taken? How many men would be needed? You see? And that's where the name Rahab got her name and her protection, because she protected these spies. So Joshua himself, who had been a spy, sent more spies. He utilized those very same tactics to get more land in the conquest that Israel had for the land of Canaan, which the Most High gave unto us. All of this has to go back to birthrights. And then at the end of the day, did not Esau sell his birthright to Israel? And the scripture already told you that the elder shall serve the younger. So it was already set up in the spirit that we would have that birthright and have rulership in the kingdom. Well, if we don't have that right now, you got to expect there to be a change in the guards. You got to expect the downfall and the collapse of this society. Deuteronomy 16:16 says, nope, but that's it. That's it, because this is going into another topic. So, yep, I'll leave it at that. As you can see, there is a buildup of military-aged, able-bodied men in all of these Western countries. All right, Edomite-dominated countries. And when you come to the conclusion, when you dig deeper, you find out it's the JOO that has set this up. They are behind this. This was a big, great plan of his to weaken his Edomite brothers, right? Because he don't even consider himself to be WHITE, the JOO man. He considers himself to be a JOO, something separate and entirely different. But they play on that, you know. So here it is. They allowed Soros is another name that comes up. Open Border. He got a complete organization called Open Borders or something like that. That's why it's been so hard to build this wall. That's why America is torn on that, because this is the plan. The plan is to get all of these immigrants in to cross this border and create a havoc-like situation that calls for a MOTB, it calls for a digital dollar, it calls for a police state, it calls for a surveillance state, and you give up your rights and your freedoms. Hegelian dialectic, problem, solution, problem, cause, problem, a solution, or something like that. I brought this out of this video. Is that a fun? Until next time, Shalom.